But there is an experience, which is an energetic, I don't know, turbulence in this. And those experiences are felt, you know. You can recall in the human memory an experience in a lifetime of things that seem to have happened to the individual self, interacting with other selves, and, you know, wrongs and rights and joys and, you know, hassles and all of that, you know, amazing things. Wow. And of course it's just this in a moment of complete joy of itself. But we take ownership and said, oh, I had this great thing that happened. Okay, it's just this having new experiences and going, whew, you know, through the body, and it's all just amazing. But somehow it feels like all those experiences, this is all intelligent energy, and all of those experiences are available. You know, there's talk of the young child in India who grows up and he remembers being a fighter pilot in the war, and he knows the name of his mate and the plane that went down too well to be a coincidence. He couldn't have looked it up. It was impossible to know. So I think all of this experience is available. It's always now. It's always happening. Part of the experience is the identification through a human mind into identifying as a separate me. You know, that's just, it doesn't even seem wrong now. It doesn't even seem, that used to feel like, oh, that is so wrong. How could that be? What a mistake. It's not. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a fantastic experience in the same thing. It's just like a wondrous experience in the same thing. It's not true. It's not a real entity, but it's amazing, you know. And if people live their supposed lives out like that, there'd probably be a lot of suffering that needs to be balanced somewhere else in the whole thing. But, you know, it's not personal, and that's just what's happening. They didn't make that happen or deserve it or, you know, unjustly get it. It's just the whole thing playing in energetic flux. So I think when somebody dies, that those whirlpools of individual experience, maybe they're still accessible in some way. Maybe they're still interactive in some way. Maybe that has some interactive impetus. It's just not doing it in a human body. So maybe the only thing it doesn't need to do anything, but the only thing it may aid in explaining is how unknowable and infinite this all is. If we say it can't be like this, then we're making a judgment. If we say, oh, it is this, we're making a judgment. If we just say, I have no idea, but a really interesting, fun thing happened where this happened, wouldn't it be interesting somehow if that all works together and this is all part of the same thing? So just enjoy the ride, and the ride is opening up in a free way anyway. And that can be celebrated, yeah. And that the celebration can reinforce when doubt creeps in. When doubt creeps in to want to drag the mind back into the separate self-identification. So celebration is like inquiry. You know, inquiry for a time can be useful for this life with all its habits to start breaking down the habits. So that, you know, you get the one school of radical non-duality that just says there is nothing you can do, there's nothing you ever did, so, you know, meditation's useless, nothing's worthwhile, don't do anything, you weren't doing it anyway, so that means, you know, it's pointless. There's no escape, there's nothing you can do. All of those terms, while they're meant in the best intent, possibly are, and they're all just words anyway. So but an interpretation of those words could mean some people just see the barrier as being too far, you know, the gap in the ravine to be too far to jump across. So if the mind can start seeing and unpicking itself, one, in inquiry, as a useful tool, not to achieve something, which is the first thing the mind will do. It will say, I have to meditate and be more peaceful so that I can get to here. The tool is just activating to dissolve itself. But for that, it's a useful tool. but not a tool to get somewhere. So there's two ways, meditation to get somewhere can add to separation and identification. Meditation to just give this intelligence introspection on itself about its true nature, it can't do anything with that. And so then it realizes that it can't do anything, and then it dissolves. So in that, it's a useful movement in itself to unlearn itself.